Shall we begin? Let's begin now.
Tunga sugiti tabunga ni nabukawan. Tana sakatin na suyakta inyong ni ukpiriyo wag ni kubini ta sumani. Ma na suyuga yaktu kaya kaya. Kanyuga bisiblika. Tikugin wasak tabuhan.
Since 1970, more than 16,000 people have disappeared from Alaska, with some putting that number at 20,000. This is a massive number for such a sparsely populated state. It's over double the national average. Is it just the volatile weather in Alaska and hard living conditions causing this, or is there something more nefarious going on? Alaska's paranormal activity ranges from sightings in the sky to the strangest creatures known, passed down verbally over generations in the Inuit culture. The sightings and stories of these strange beings span from Greenland on the far east coast all the way to Alaska. Even more curious than that, the description of these beings seem to have strange, identical counterparts all across the world. How could a culture so far removed be seeing things that we have names for in other parts of the world? Is there any evidence that these creatures of myth could be real? Get ready to have your world turned upside down by the end of this episode.
Over 16,000 people walk since 1970. Asiw si Mayo. Nung nabumili tayo may tunok ka, asiw si Mayo kang itok nga. Tusaw man na nga.
John, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
This is a weird one.
This is a weird one.
Not only does the Inuit and just Alaskan native cultures have the strangest accounts of beings, creatures, animals, whatever you want to call them, but you know we've just got like beings I've never even heard of anywhere. I mean,
Right.
like there's this one thing called the Ahklait, which is a half wolf, half orca that, you know, people are finding wolf tracks leading to the ocean. And if you see those, you know, it's one of these things. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, okay. I mean, this goes into a really weird area because it's also goes into Nanook, right?
Oh, yeah. So Nanook
Tusaw mo basically. Ahklait. Tusakit tayo. Alaska may kuyo ka.
is the master, like the king of bears up there, right?
Right.
Of polar bears, rather.
Right. So, I mean, there's like all sorts of stories of Nanook. I think you know some of those stories. But Nanook was some creature that would also sometimes help humans. I can't recall. Like sometimes.
Yeah, basically, he decided if hunters deserved success in finding and hunting bears and punished violations of hunting taboos.
Right. Exactly. Right. So most
Tusaw mangisuguritan. Tusakit tayo. Nanok. Polar bear may tukikatwin na kasugiyo ka.
people out there believe that Nanook and Ahklait and these types of creatures are they're mythological, trying to explain something that they perceive in their environment, turning it into a story. And mythology is really interesting. You know, some some of these myths do come from a way to explain the environment in a way that's kind of exciting, so that the stories are remembered through time because it's verbal, word of mouth storytelling. And there's no like subtext to say things like, hey, you know, this is about the sun rising and falling every day, but we've just put it in the context of gods or something, right?
A story, yeah, right.
A story, right? And then you have the myths that are, well, they're specifically referring to some creature or some type of event that is a real thing. Especially when you get to the more bizarre ones. It's actually, what I'm finding is that the more bizarre and darker ones are real, like they're real creatures.
Yeah, hard to make that up.
Right. Right. It's hard to make that up. But then you have this whole other category. And I don't think this category is really known about by people in general because it gets very esoteric. But we see this with remote viewing on some of them. So in the case of Ahklait and Nanook, what we have here specifically is what the collective consciousness of the people has created. This is basically created by seeing something, then generating the idea of what this thing is over time, so that a whole population of people believe in its existence. And then from there, this gives the power of creation to a life form that's both etheric and 3D at the same time, which can become completely autonomous of the creators. And you have words for these things like a tulpa or an egregore or a god form, which like Nanook falls into the category of a god form. It's a culturally created autonomous being, right? Then you have Ahklait, which is more of an egregore, which again is the same thing. It's just like of a lesser status or lesser kind of
Power almost.
power, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what we see with at least these two, is that this was originally created by the humans. And people just don't understand how powerful group consciousness is and what groups think. So when you have like the whole world, United States, people who think in terms of dark entities invading the planet, you create that because your imagination, what you're told, what you begin to concoct in your mind, creates the thing. We're creators. Us humans are creators. And that is a powerful, good, and also very dangerous thing when we don't understand it. And I don't even know if the Inuit people understand what they have created.
Anga katigak kayo su amma ilang kaparu. Tas maunik kayo kaktinga.
With their group consciousness. But it is a fully real thing now, 100% real. That would be much like what people would think about as a cryptid now, right? Well, let's go see if we can find this thing when it was originally created as like a tulpa or a god form.
We're just getting now. The tuniit were reportedly the first inhabitants of the Alaskan lands. They're apparently taller and stronger than the Inuit. They can carry, it's said that they can carry a seal on their back. They're so strong. Seals are bones, right? That they can.
Sunik ka sa kayo yun ito sa mga naksulit man. Sa ngiyo yun nakatawak si mga abunga ulsagun naksulit. Inulok to kayo.
Outrun caribou. Now, they were also known as another name, this name called the Dorset people. What makes this interesting is that there have been 169 ancient human specimens found of the Dorset or the Tuniit people. Now, you have some sources saying that they were much taller. Some seem, basically to say that they're much taller, they're much thicker, and some say that they're short and thick or the same size, and they're just much thicker and broader than a normal human. But either way, they were pretty strong people. Now, these people who lived in the north before the Inuit, they spoke very simple languages, sometimes referred to as kutak or even baby talk. So it was almost like a super.
Kutag na kayo kagtukanan. Katak layo. Or baby talk layo kag mga. Kutag na kayo ka.
Or simple form of language. Now, these Tuniit were apparently very peaceful people, just minded their own business, and they preferred to be kind of left alone. Artifacts of the Tuniit can be found all over the north. Now, if you pissed them off, they became a pretty bad enemy to have because they were so strong. But generally, they just tried to stay away from humans. And if you were trying to speak to them, you had to speak much simpler and slower and not use big words in order to communicate with them.
Right. Yeah.
Pay pa ako sa kasyon itaw to katakos ilangit ангиюк жоо лерилаорсимагут ина тааманнаттаа оқаусеқақатталорсимагмут пиюннартиартуаюгаарлутигоор сангиуаюгаарлутик кисаани силаиттупалугматагоор тукиситтааруннат ngillутик инуи пеққусигинни канорулукаангикку канордиту саумавис
Race of humans. And when you get to the north again, it's like there's so much land, like just unbelievable amounts of land that you won't find another human in which these beings, people-ish things will live. They're very 3D. They weren't like traversing dimensions or anything like that. They
Right.
just seem to be a race, some kind of race of people up there.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
So they apparently disappeared from history because as the Inuit and the natives started to kind of discover new hunting ground, instead of the tuniit people fighting for that hunting ground, they would just move. They would just move further away. And just like that, it is said in this culture that they disappeared from history. So it's very probable that they just still live in places that are harder to get to and that most people don't live in. Now, this group is called the Thule that survived where the tuniit basically disappeared from history.
таанна туулеэртааққусуугугалуарлуни кануу туулеэртааю тусарникугикку tuli people туорлуни.
And what's honestly most amazing is that they were using iron for tools and hunting in Alaska. They practiced a process called epimetallurgy that made the metal stronger, harder, and had more efficient points. They're believed to have had militias. They wore Chinese-style slat armor made from animal bones, and they may have even developed and designed a bow and arrow that came from Mongolian influences.
Тамаagauna исоққакалуартиннаалеракку такинерсаалугаарлуни тамаага исоққакалуартиннасукку канорлика исумагивисиук тааккуарулуя тамаага тикиутигуссеқуяннамигаасит